Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the online launch of the Leitrim GAA Supporters Club draw. We're delighted to have you joining us for the next hour and 15 minutes. Naturally, like all things at the moment, we wish we were gathering once more in Croke Park as we have done for this event over the last 7 odd years or so. When it has become a must-attend gathering of all things Leitrim, both GA and life, culture, music, dance, etc. And we're glad to have a good mix of personalities and discussions teed up for you here tonight as well to keep things interesting. We have a brilliant array of contributors from the county chairperson and the county senior football manager, Enda Stenson and Terry Hyland, followed by our very own Seamus O'Rourke, Bard of Leitrim, and Edwina Guckian, another of our top artists and thinkers. We'll be doing a special promo around Leitrim tourism in the middle of the evening around 8:35 before we move on to a discussion I'm really looking forward to with two of Leitrim's Persons of the Year, Seamus and Catriona Clarke. We have then a special little tribute to the late great Packie McGarty from Eamonn Duignan, who would have contributed to a phenomenal tribute to Packie that took place on Ocean FM just in the days following his passing. And Seamus O'Rourke has penned a very special tribute to the man that he will recite for the first time live for us tonight. And then we'll be wrapping it up at around 9:10 with the official launch of the Leitrim Supporters Club by Eamonn Duignan, the man who back all 35 years ago established the entity and kept it going through some of the quieter times, but also through some great years as well. For all of you that are tuned in tonight, we will have a special prize for all of you as well, a hamper of some fantastic Leitrim artisan foods kindly provided for one lucky listener tonight and viewer. And I'll be asking a question a couple of times throughout the night, and people will be asked to post the answer on the Leitrim GAA Facebook page, and we'll have a draw at the end to select the winner. And I'll run through later on in the night exactly what it is that you're going to be in with a chance of winning. But right now, folks, just to kick the night off, I want to hand over to the chairperson of the Dublin Branch Leitrim Supporters Club, Mike Feeney, to make the official welcomes and to throw the ball in, so to speak, for tonight's show.
Thank you, Colin. I want to welcome you all, wherever you are in Ireland or across the world, to a very special 35th launch of the Leitrim GAA Supporters Club to 2021. The past 14 months have been very difficult for all of us, and it is really great to be looking forward with hope to the return of matches and all that goes with that. I want to welcome all our guests, and in particular, Seamus and Catriona Clarke, joint Leitrim Persons of the Year, live from New York. I want to take you back 35 years ago and to why the Leitrim Supporters Club was set up here in Dublin. Mick Laughlin Ballinadlera, a fanatical supporter, and two Leitrim players, Eamonn Duignan Mohel and Jimmy Ward from Gortletra, felt strongly that Leitrim would have won a Connacht Championship a few years earlier, particularly in '82 when they were narrowly defeated by Mayo, and indeed in '83 by Galway, if the county board had had the necessary resources to put into the county setup. The team of that period included 5 players from the Leitrim team of the Millennium, and that included Ollie Honeyman, Noel Crossan, Frank Houlihan, Mickey Quinn and Mickey Martin. The founders of the Supporters Club felt strongly that future Leitrim teams needed to be prepared with the best resources, and there was a draw and it made 80,000 punts at the time. Now, it's no coincidence that there was a golden period of 10 years after that when Leitrim footballers operated in Division 2, won an All-Ireland B, a Connacht Under 21, and of course in 1994 we got all the way to the All-Ireland semi-final. Since then, thanks to your support, the Supporters Club has flourished and brings in circa 100,000 every year. This has kept Leitrim GAA alive. Now, I want to thank everyone who year in, year out has bought a ticket. And in particular, I want to thank the sellers of tickets here in Dublin and other places such as Sligo, London, and of course New York, and the sellers in the club. You have been great foot soldiers. Just want to mention other Supporter Club members who have been involved in related activities down the years, particularly the golf classics with Joe Layden and Barry Donlan, and indeed Noel McPartland had his golf classic in Leitrim and Michael Crine in Mullingar. In 2009, the Supporters Club raised 900,000 for the new stand. Sorry, in 2007. And in 2019, 400,000 was raised for the Centre of Excellence. So the supporters have been there all the way. And just this year, when things look very bleak, supporters across the world rallied to raise 100,000 in the 50-mile Leitrim Challenge organised through Adrian O'Flynn and Co. And in doing so, you proclaimed their pride, love and affection for lovely Leitrim. And currently, we also have the Win a Wedding competition. Because of the loyalty and generosity of the Supporters Club, the investment in the infrastructure has been more or less completed, and now funds can go towards raising the county teams and, more importantly, coaching. I want to thank Cox's Steakhouse and all the sponsors, the other hotels and businesses and Leitrim County Board who have come on board with prizes. It's only by working together that we can make this happen. I want to thank Colin Regan, our compere for this evening, and Breffney Early, the producer of the show, with technical help from Brendan Doyle and Brian Blake. Now, I want to say good luck to all the Leitrim teams in all grades and codes this year, and a special mention to our footballers and hurlers who were out against Sligo and Louth, respectively, this Sunday. Finally, remember, you can purchase a ticket with great prizes online at Leitrim GAA Supporters Club.ie, and you will also get the fabulous Leitrim sticker. So wishing you all a safe and lovely summer, and keep supporting lovely Leitrim.
Great stuff, Mike, and nicely teed up. And you'll see up in the top right-hand corner of your screen there the ticket for the supporters draw this year. Now, it's a special, obviously, anniversary edition, and it'll look the part on your car window. And no matter, I know myself, anywhere I'm driving around the country, when I see one of those on the back of a car, I always do a good bit of rubbernecking to see who it is that's driving. And if you don't have one, you know, it's definitely something that you'll be charged and challenged about as to why you haven't got one on your car, and they won't accept that you'd sold the car recently and this is a new model that you've just brought out either. But listen, folks, we're gonna get stuck into some discussion about football before we broaden it out with Seamus and Edwina. And I'm going to introduce now the Leitrim County Chairperson, Enda Stenson, and Terry Hyland, Manager of the Leitrim Senior Footballers. Evening, gents.
Evening,
good
Colin.
evening, and good evening to all the viewers out there on Facebook land or wherever, cyberspace. I'm not sure, but good evening to everybody.
And you're nicely branded there. You're looking the part. I like it. I like it. You've got the crest front and center.
Well, I'm at this since about lunchtime time. Yeah, but I'm okay.
I think he's thinking about. I think it's the background he's talking about. But anyway,
no. I was focusing on myself.
He'll take the compliment even if it was meant or not, Terry.
Absolutely.
Well, politician for it.
Well, Enda, there's obviously you're looking fit and well and healthy. Was it the 50k challenge that did it for you?
Well, I have to say, isn't it a pleasure to be here this evening? The sun is shining outside. As I'm here in the Centre of Excellence, and the place is abuzz here with people training. I see down a Duff pitch beside me. I come up past the Eshlin pitch. Everybody is out training. Positivity abounds in Leitrim. Football is back, and everybody is happy. We had a very difficult year last year. Everybody knows that. But last year is behind us. We're moving forward. Terry has been here practically every night since we were allowed back. He was one of the players that didn't come back until we were allowed back, or one of the trainers. But he has been here, and Ulcan Conway with the hurlers. It has been excellent what has been happening. And this year, we're so looking forward to it. We started off so well in the month of January, as you know well, and everybody else knows well, with our 50-mile challenge. We just want to pay a huge tribute to everybody right across the world, from the Whitneys in Utah to Union Lynch in Sydney. There was so many people, that got involved and raised 105,000 for Leitrim GAA by just walking. It raised the spirits of us, it raised the spirits of everybody. It was absolutely phenomenal, and we were so happy. And as we say, now we have the winawedden.ie with Lochrin Castle, and that's just phenomenal. And that is people, ordinary people all over the world, raising funds to help Leitrim GAA and to help us, and we are so grateful and so thankful to them. And now we have our supporters club, which phenomenal. All I can say to you people who run this, and Colin, you that's running this, and everybody else, Eamonn Duignan, Mike Feeney, Dolan, all those people, you have been so good to Leitrim, and we so appreciate it. So I just want to say thanks to everybody who gets involved in this, and all our sponsors. I cannot forget our sponsors.
Of course, it couldn't happen without them, Enda. And
Clarke's have been here, Joe Dolan, the Bush Hotel, has been here for a long time, and Leitrim. Look at anyway. Go ahead.
But I was going to just say, Terry, obviously, Cavan, in terms of some innovative sponsorship and fundraising initiatives over the last couple of years as well. For the 50k challenge, the money is always incredibly important, and that's what keeps the engine purring and ticking over. But the thing that struck me about the 50k challenge was that it reunited people at a time when we were forced to stay apart, and it allowed people, regardless, as you said, and what part of the world they were in, to really identify with their Leitrim roots again. Terry, I know you were impressed with it yourself, and you were a driving force for it too.
Well, I suppose it gave the opportunity for people to become a community again, which had lost out on. And we forget about the people who travel away, and we only think of our own little areas. And it gave them an opportunity to get back involved and be part of probably what they love and where they come from, and they contributed immensely towards that. And at a time when people were wondering what would they do for fundraising and how would they do it, and sometimes the best ideas are the simplest ideas. And it was a very simple idea, but it involved everybody. And I think that was the great unique part about what it done was it brought fun to people, it connected people who probably hadn't seen other for years, and it gave them an opportunity then to interact. And to be fair to Leitrim County Board as well, might give a broad sheet of what has happened for the last 35 years. The money has been well spent. It's not a case of, we famously hear about, the famous black hole, as we all hear about, but nobody knows what's in the black hole. But you know what I mean? I've been, from my account, Leitrim, I've seen a lot of progressive things going on, and again, I know the lads, and you probably asked a question later about coaching and things like that. And that's the kind of things they need to spend money on. They need to bring on their youth.
And that, I know that the coaching structures recently launched a new player pathway for the county, Terry. And as you said, the money that over the last number of years, a lot of it has gone into our infrastructure, and that was necessary in terms of upgrading Park Sean, the development of the Centre of Excellence, and even you can see around the county the improvement in quality of pitches in the clubs from north to south. But in terms then of actually building the player base, that's sort of a cohesive plan for how we develop our players, laid out by our full-time staff at county level, but then drilling that down to each coaching officer and every coach in each club.
Well, as you rightly said, infrastructure is very, very important. I suppose it's a bit like building a factory, but I suppose it comes back down to the product out of that factory and who is going to bring that together. And, where Leitrim may be small in numbers in one sense, and they may not have the biggest population, but they have actually a unique opportunity, because sometimes small is great and small is good because you can work easier together. And the guys that have their players' pathways, and we talked about this as well, and everybody has opinions on maybe the way things can be done differently and how they can do it, but at least they're putting together a program which will bring lads together, and I've often been asked this question, and my big thing is coach the coaches. Make sure the coaches are of quality, because if the quality of the skills has been imparted to the children, you will end up, when they become adults, they'll be much, much better for that. And I think perhaps clubs all over Ireland, and I've been involved with my own club, and that we can build a structure, we can build a building, and we can see it, we can physically see it. But sometimes when we're doing coaching, it's a slow build. And sometimes we're having the foresight to see it to its end. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, if you start with a kid of 5 or 6, it's probably going to take them 12, 13 years until you really see what they've turned into. And I think this is the pathway that has to be created. It's long term. And once you get it there, then the conveyor belt kicks in, and it comes after year after year after year.
Absolutely, and I know that the new Leitrim or the new GA president. You're not the GA president just yet, but the new GA president Larry McCarthy was really emphasising the importance of the focus on play for our youngsters and fun at this what now coming out of the pandemic. You know, and we can build on competitions and winners down the line.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah, and he's right, Colin, because don't get me wrong with this, and and I know I've been quoting Croke Park as saying that cones are for ice cream, and sometimes we have put things a little bit too structured. Children have to enjoy themselves. Sometimes you might be better with one football and 10 kids rolling around and learning that this is the one thing I have to play with, and giving them one each and saying, oh, he gave it to me, I don't have to fight to win it. You know what I mean? You have to build up natural hunter-gatherer instincts in kids when they're playing sport. And I think
Terry, don't we all remember when we were young and before the adults started the game, we all crowded around the goals and everybody fought like hell for the one ball. And they were probably the most enjoyable things about going to a football match or club match. Just we all got in there and went like hell for the ball.
Seamus Rowe could tell you that they're some of the best catches ever made in the game I made at half time out there.
And I think people can be afraid that you're not going to instill enough competition in youngsters. Competition is inherent there, and to touch on the cones piece, Michael McGowan, our great clubman down in Melvin Gales, he used to say drills are for spuds, and just let them off and let them play. But Terry, turning our eye now to the seniors and the competitive side of things. Obviously, it's been an incredibly difficult year for all county managers to try and prepare a squad. Tell us a little bit about what the lads were doing individually during the lockdown, and now how has it moved across into game preparation that you're allowed back on the field.
Well, look, like every other county, lads have been doing gym programs and they've been doing running programs and they've been doing everything. And the one thing we emphasise to the lads, get out with the ball. If you can't go to a pitch, pitches are closed, that's fine. Get out in the backyard, get out with your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, get out with anybody. Because in the end of the day, where fitness is a major factor and strength is a major factor, it all comes back down to skill levels. And the oftener they can handle a football, the less chance you have of making a mistake with it in your hand. It's a bit like carrying a child. You know what I mean? So somebody lifts a child the first time they're nervous. If they're used to doing that, they get comfortable with it. The football is the same thing. So, you know what I mean? Treat it like a child when you have it. Don't give it away.
There's words to live by, and particularly I have number 2 on the way now in about 5 weeks, so I'll be preaching that mantra, Terry. Thanks very much, Enda. And Terry, look we've got Sligo in the first outing, very familiar foes, our close neighbours. Particularly, we have a very close affinity with them up the north of the county. I presume the lads are just mad to get back and play in a game.
Well, that's of course it, you know what I mean? And I suppose where these are local derbies for Leitrim, they're probably not local derbies for me in one sense. So sometimes I don't get the adrenaline rush the lads get from those local derbies. But, Sligo, again, new management, and probably, all our Division 3, our Division 4, teams this year are probably being led by guys who have featured in Ulster football, which is probably systems type football. So it will be interesting and will be intriguing. It might be the nicest, openest football that you've ever seen. But I suppose in the end of the day, what you guys want is results, and that's what we are going looking for.
Yes,
absolutely. And I'll hand over just the last word to yourself in terms of the season ahead. What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking for a victory in Sligo on Sunday, and that'll start our year, Terry. And we will be onwards and upwards after that. And I just want to wish Terry and Olkin and Brendan Guckian and all the very best of good luck going forward. They're all out training. There's no stone left unturned. We at the county board, we're entitled to give them what is best, what they're getting in every other county, and they will get that. And I'm so looking forward to the year ahead. And I just want to again thank you, the Supporters Club, for arranging this night.
Not at all. Great. And a pleasure having you both, and we could talk all night, but we have a lot to get through, so I'm going to hand over now. And thanks a million, and the best luck for the season ahead, Terry, and for the year ahead. And
thanks, Colin, and thanks for the open checkbook, and that's great.
We'll cut him off now before he can respond. Obviously, the hurlers are out this weekend as well, facing Louth. Their league campaign also will see them heading to Fermanagh and Cavan, and Leitrim subsequent football matches away home to Louth, and obviously then up to Corrigan Park against Antrim. So best of luck in all the matches. And just to note that the brilliant initiative that the Leitrim hurlers unveiled this week with the No to Anti-Racism slogan on their jersey for the league campaign ahead, and brilliant to see the lads up there in Croke Park, great ambassadors. Really flying that flag, and we, I understand that Zach was instrumental himself in sourcing the connection there that led to this here initiative taking place, and he's been a brilliant ambassador for Leitrim hurling, and obviously the phenomenal success of the hurlers last year. They've got a tough challenge ahead in the Nicky Rackard Cup this year, but I'm sure they're equally eager to get back out onto the pitch there and show us that they're well able to step up to that level of hurling, and the best of luck with that, lads. So we're going to switch things up a little bit now, folks, and move over from, I suppose, what could be called a local derby for Terry. Anyway, speaking to Seamus O'Rourke, as I introduced him earlier, the bard and chronicler of Leitrim life, and Edwina Guckian as well. Edwina, well known, of course, as a Sean knows dancer and a creative performer and artist, and then very well known over recent years, Edwina, as well, for your environmentalism and advocacy in that space too. It's been a big year for both of you, actually, despite all the limitations that's been placed on you. Seamus, I've got to ask you about Standing in Gaps, the memoir. I'll go to yourself first. Were you always scribbling notes down as a young fella, or was all that up in your head?
No, I never scribbled a note in my life, even at school. I didn't think there was very much in my head. I'm not big into latching on to memories, but strangely, when I went back there, when I set about writing the novel or the memoir, I'm getting above my station.
That's what happens to writers when they have a successful book.
But funny, when I got settled in, it's amazing when you zone in on stuff, what comes back to you, what comes back. And one of the things I wanted to do was be as accurate as possible, just for my own sake. And I know that, you'll probably say, well, you were actually writing about things that happened before you were born. But so I did take a little bit of a license there. I don't have that great a memory, but no, I never. I'm not one of these people who take notes. Some writers are forever taking notes and writing down little quotes and everything. But I kind of just start with the story and the characters, and all those characters were very real, and everything they said and done happened. So when I got settled into it, it came actually. I was surprisingly easily. So I was delighted with that.
And when did you start the actual process? When did you first sit down and say, right, I'm finally, I know that it's something, talking to you through the years, you always said, you thought there was a book in you there, but when did you actually commit to the process?
I think the key to it was that I had actually set this last summer aside to write the book. I had been touring constantly for almost 10 years with plays and whatever, and it had become so much that I was getting bogged down in stuff, and I said I'm going to have to step back a little bit and do something different, otherwise I'll just be chasing my own tail for the next 20 years. I won't last 40 years, and so I had the time set aside. So when COVID happened, it really just brought me forward a couple of months, and that was the key to it. I was completely relaxed because I wasn't thinking, what will I do? I should be doing something else. And COVID actually made it a lot easier for me to concentrate and get stuck in, and so therefore I wrote it quite quickly. And it's been in my, I tried to write it about 8 years ago, and it was rubbish. It's probably still rubbish, but at least it's rubbish that I'm happier with this time.
Well, it seems a lot of people are happy with it, Seamus. Did its success surprise you? I don't think it surprised anybody who's read it, but did you expect it really to capture the imagination the way it did?
I mean, I should say I wasn't expecting that. But at the same time, I mean, if you're writing, and I've written quite a few plays, you always think you're writing the masterpiece, and so I was really writing for an audience, and I because I'm not a writer, you know, I have never written anything like this before. I was kind of treating it as if the readers were my audience at the play, so I kept reminding myself, you know, keep them involved. What have I waffled on too long about a subject? So I was trying to keep them keep them listening or reading all the time. And I did think, because I think there's a huge there's a shortage of rural writing in this country, and and so I knew that there was lots of people that might enjoy this, and I also made sure that it wasn't a kiss and tell book. I mean, I don't have, thankfully, living in this wonderful county of ours, I don't have too many gripes with anyone, and I certainly wasn't going to start bringing it up in a book. But at the same time, I was trying to be as honest as possible, and fair play to my family, who could have objected to some of the dirty linen I was washing, but they didn't. So yeah, no,
we're glad you got to clean it in public anyway. Edwina, you know, interesting hearing from Seamus how the whole lockdown period and that pause, I suppose, that it offered some creative opportunity and maybe a bit of a catalyst for something. You know, from your perspective, what has the last 12 or 14 months been like in terms of your creative process?
Yeah, it's been, well, I guess when it first happened, it was so uncertain because everything that I always did, particularly working with children, just all shut down, and it still is, and I can't see it returning for quite a while yet. But it was lovely to have that pause and to realize that everybody is now moving at the same pace. And that's something I guess that I always struggled with, was even when I took time off, if I took a month off, I still knew everybody else was ploughing ahead at work, so I was never fully at ease. I was always on my toes trying to plan the next thing. So it was lovely to slow down and have that break and to give things time to settle in the head, and lots did. And I guess loads of stuff had seeds growing, you know, in my head, and lots of different things coming out, which are all coming to fruition now, which is really lovely. And particularly things that I would never have gotten time to focus on for myself. I always spend a lot of time working with children, which I love, and making things happen for them. So it was nice to focus on myself with my own work, and also to focus on other community groups and other ages as well.
I find it interesting that a dancer would say that you're always on your toes, you know, because I do believe that, you know, we do tend to manifest our lives in how we engage with life as well. And those old ways of life that Seamus chronicles so well, and so importantly archives, you know, so importantly, that has been a big motivation and influence in your own life and your own creative life. Where did the Sean Nose tradition come from in your family?
Yeah, well, my parents, my mother dances, and her parents would have been musicians as well, and her brothers and sisters would have been dancers, and my great grandparents were dancers too. So it kind of was just there, and it was never something that I guess they said to us, right, well, today you're 5, you're going to a dancing class. It was like learning to walk or talk. You learned to do a few steps around the kitchen, or you learned to pick up the fiddle or tin whistle or something. So it was just you know, it was just there. It was just life.
And you were talking about, you know, some of the seeds that have started to show green shoots. Like one of the initiatives is literally sowing the seeds that you know you've given birth to over the last while. Would you mind talking to us a wee bit about that, and how that in turn led to the revival of, as you've called it, the modern day mummers?
Yeah, it was January last year, before the pandemic came, that the heritage officer in Leitrim County Council approached me to do a project around destroying tradition. And it was just so coincidental. It was really great timing, because around that time I had been looking at the folk customs of Ireland and traditions that were associated with land. and the calendar year, which a lot of our grandparents and great grandparents would have, it would have been really a big part of their lives. It would have, again, just have been there, passed down from one generation to the next. So I was focusing on that, and we were just about to kick off getting people to grow oats and different things, flax and corn, when the pandemic hit. So we were looking to see then, how can we use these ideas to go down a different path with them? So we took the mummers tradition, which is about dressing up in disguise and bringing people good luck with some music and drama and songs and stories on their doorsteps. Well, it's meant to be on their doorsteps and into their houses, usually at Christmas time, across the 12 days of Christmas. So we said, well, why are we waiting until Christmas? Why don't we do it now, when people have nobody to call to them right now, particularly the older generation? So we, myself and Fionnuala Maxwell and Brian Mostyn, the three of us took off across Anaduff and Drumsna and Estlin and all these different areas, calling to people. We were ringing up like Enda, Stenson and all these people, going, who'd be a good person to call to in your area? And we had the best crack. It was just the most rewarding experience for us, as well as the people we called to. It was lovely. And then Leitrim Development Company and the HSE got on board as well, and started funding more artists across Leitrim to do it. So there was 12 areas in Leitrim covered. And Creative Ireland are still supporting us, and we're just about to do another round of it between now and Christmas again. So it's going really well. Yeah.
Well, I know from the, when we have this gathering traditionally up in Croke Park, we have a great spread of the generations, and I'm sure that that the threshing stories that I heard from in my youth would be have been part of that big tradition. And Seamus, in terms of what you chronicle and write about a lot as well, resonates, I think, with that whole Mehil that used to be such a big part of growing up on a farm back in the 70s and 80s. Those big gatherings of people, no more than the gatherings that you have at a football match either, and the sharing of the stories. How much are you looking forward to getting back on stage now, Seamus, and share, doing what you do so well, which is sharing stories with other people?
I'm dreading it. At the minute, honestly, I've become odd over the last. The first year was great, and I was writing the book and flogging it and doing all sorts of things. And about 3 months ago, I found the last 3 months quite difficult. And I genuinely I'm kind of dreading it, and I'm putting things off, and people are ringing me up now and saying, what about when you come back on the road? And it's not, don't get me wrong, it's not that I don't look forward to the performing part of it. I suppose I'm a kind of just that thing that I said before about getting dragged into that always touring and always coming up with the next idea and getting onto that I would really like to be able to pick and choose now when I perform. And I don't mean that I'm getting too big for my boots or anything, but just that it's a decision I've kind of made that rather than doing a lot of quantity, that I'd like to do a bit of quality for a change. And some people would say, well, it's about the time you did.
But wouldn't that be a good thing for the whole world to decide on?
Yeah, I mean, I was fascinated for Edwina to say, what she was saying about when the pandemic came in, because when I was at the start of my book, and I was writing about the 70s mostly at that time, and those first few days of the pandemic, we went out for a few walks, and there wasn't a car on the road, and everything was so quiet, and it was exactly how I remembered the 70s, with so little fuss and so little. There was no drive in Ireland. Ireland was a very relaxed, laid back place, and I used to be given out when we'd be going to do a bit of farming down the road. If my father met 5 people on the way, he'd stop the tractor and we'd have a chat with each one of them. And by the time we get there, it'd be almost dark, and we'd turn and come home. And I was, and not that I was a farmer, but I was always, why don't we move on, and why don't we get this work done? But now, I mean, we just long for that. And I think, if anything, I think that yes, of course, it's gone on so long now that we're all mad to get back into doing our normal lives, as we say it. But I think everybody will take a little bit of that wonderful slowness that was there for those few months, and that we might cop ourselves on a little bit.
Absolutely. And we'll see a wee video from Leitrim Tourism later on in the show. And Edwina, I've written in the past on my column in the Leitrim Observer about the opportunity for Leitrim to become a truly slow tourism destination. To mark ourselves out for a place that you can actually go to and just essentially slow down and reconnect, either as John Moriarty used to say, to slow down and allow your soul to catch up. We're rushing about that much these days, but in terms of, obviously you've done some, I mentioned at the introduction, your advocacy work around sustainability and environmental matters in Leitrim. Again, so many people were acknowledging as Seamus said, the ability to hear the birds, to see wildlife returning to areas that they maybe hadn't been for a long time. What are the opportunities do you see from that perspective to take from the last 12 months experience and for us to actually take a positive opportunity from?
Yeah, well, I think everything was always there. You hear people saying, oh gosh, there's an awful lot more birds here this year or whatever it may be, but I think everything was always there. It's just that we're listening more. And even for myself, like, I would have always been a person that very much felt like they were connected to the land, like, and really listened. But even myself now, when I go for a walk, or even when someone's having a conversation with me, sometimes I'm looking at them, but my head is listening to what's in the hedge there. So I've become an awful lot more toned as well into it. So
Must have been Enda Stenson you were talking to, was it?
That's the World Wide Web that Enda's in there.
But I think, I was just on a walk there the other day, a dawn walk down on Tommy Early's farm on Mount Allen Eco Farm. And when I showed up, I said, I bet you now there'll be nobody else at 4 o'clock in the morning on this. And there was about 20 people. And he was only doing it for, I think, one weekend. And now he's doing it for the whole month of May. And it just shows you, it really shows you how connected people are. And the one thing I've discovered this year more than anything is how reconnected people have gotten with the land. Like, everywhere you look, someone has a vegetable patch now in their garden or buying a polytunnel, and you wouldn't see that. So people are really starting to be self-sufficient and realize that you can sustain yourself from your own patch of land and be environmentally aware as well.
You'd normally have only met the crowd that size at that time that I'd coming home from Cartown. But it's a very good point. And Seamus, in terms of that, I keep going back to that way of life. There must be something happening to people's heads during lockdown, because I've even been pining for the bog, the place that I cursed more often than I don't know how many backs of mine it broke, but it was the one place that Dad, we actually considered burying him there. He had such a graw for it. It would have been easier dug than the soil outside Clarke there in the old graveyard. But again, I think you touched on it. Maybe there's an element of that as to that lack of. I find it strange, the lack of literature and writing about rural Irish life, because when it does come up, it resonates with people so much.
Yeah, there's I don't know the right how to phrase it properly, but there's always been a little bit of snobbery around literature and theatre and this assumption that if you must say things in a certain way in order to capture your audience, and that the country people wouldn't understand the play, and the country people wouldn't understand a proper book, and that was one of the things that always really annoyed me about both theatre and literature and education sometimes as well. And I think what I wanted to do, what I set out to do, was I wanted to write a book for my people, and I always say that when I'm writing plays as well, for the people that I grew up with, the people that I am in touch with every day, as the Healy Rays say, the people who eat the dinner during the day. I think they are the salt of the earth, and I wanted to write a book for them, and I didn't care if someone came along and said, it's very simple, and there was a few reviews, and they kind of scoffed it and said, it's just simple stuff, and it's very there's nothing in there, and I didn't want it to be anything other than good storytelling, you know. And I'm not saying that I'm not, saying that I just wrote a book very on a whim. I mean, I put a lot of work into it, and I knew that nothing had happened in my life, but I knew that if I told it in a certain way, it would resonate with people, and I think that's what I was trying to do, and that's why I am really so delighted about. I get emails almost every day from people who say, I've just read your book, and they leave it at that, which is great. They're not telling me that I'm a genius, because I wish they would, but they're not. What they start saying is, this is my life, and I have a big long email of them telling me about their life, and that's exactly what I wanted. I don't, and the other thing, of course. I've started to say this now when people ask me about the book. The greatest thing that I had gone into that few months when I wrote the book was confidence. I knew that if I could say it the way I wanted to say it, that it was. I didn't care. As I said, I didn't care how people the what do you call those people who you have to give free books to, the reviewers. I didn't care what they said. I wanted the people. Who I was writing for to enjoy it, and so that was. As I say,
of the critics, they'll leave no good turn unstoned. Seamus and Edwina, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you both. Thanks so much for what you continue to do on behalf of the vibrancy, contributing to the vibrancy of the arts of the community, which is the life of the community, and keeping us in touch with the way things were and in many ways the way things should be. And Edwina, we look forward to the next Katie that you have at a crossroads somewhere as soon as we can all gather with a bit of a crowd. And Seamus, like it or lump it, you're going to be back on stage at some stage, and we'll look forward to that opportunity, and maybe bumping into you on the sideline of one of the Leitrim matches when crowds are allowed back again.
Great stuff. Thanks a million, Colin.
Thanks,
Take care,
Colin.
folks.
Slán.
Yeah.
So, folks, we'll move on to the next segment of the evening now, and we've been asked to play, and we're absolutely delighted to support Leitrim Tourism. They've put together a wee video for us tonight to really kind of emphasise everything that the county has to offer, to remind everybody that it's open for business again, and that in order for us to keep people living and working back in the county, it's up to us to support local businesses. And each of those businesses, I'll be going through them one by one, that have supported the Leitrim Supporters Club draw both this year and years gone. It's such a virtuous cycle that we can create within the county, and every one of us have a duty to be that ambassador that can be responsible. It doesn't matter who you're talking to. You could be the one that persuades them to come to Manor Hamilton for the Walking Festival, or to visit the Abbey out in Feeney, or to take in Acres Lake in Drumshambo, or the mighty Shannon and Carrick and Shannon, or we're Foley's Falls up the north of the county, or even our beautiful little coastline up in Tullahan. And this year was a little bit inspired again by the success of the 50k challenge, and on all of the participants posting the wonderful photos of where they were taking in their exercise during their challenge. So I'm going to ask Breffney just to roll it there, Roisin, as a famous man used to say.
My name is Joe Dolan of the Bush Hotel in Carrick and Shannon, but outside of which I'm also very proud and privileged to chair Leitrim Tourism, an innovative and successful partnership between Leitrim County Council and the tourism industry, comprising accommodation, attraction and activity providers throughout the county of Leitrim. In this context, I welcome the opportunity to share a few short sentiments on tourism, where we are, and indeed there is a great story to tell. We are in a good space. Historically, a lot of the tourism action was mainly to the south of the county, centred around highly seasonal angling and cruising and festival events. However, today we have indeed come a long way, particularly in more recent times. We have enhanced and expanded the existing product, but also diversified with much new accommodation, attractions and activities. And significantly, Many of these developments are to the north of our county, which heretofore was relatively underdeveloped. We have also considerably improved the seasonal spread of our business, with many year-round offerings and product now in place. Let me give you a flavour for some of the developments that's been going on. Glencoire Waterfall, with its improved access and facilities. The ever-improving Ballroom of Romance in Glenfarne, evocatively capturing bygone emotions and nostalgia. Pilgrim attractions, including Tarman, Jamestown, Creevalee and Feeney Abbey, and of course Carrick's Costello Memorial Church. Heritage centres, Slievenearn in Drumshambo and the St George's Centre in Carrick. The now fully restored homestead of Sean McDermott in Kiltyclahar, and of course the Memorial Cottage of Margaret of New Orleans, Carrigallen. The ever-increasing blue and greenways are a phenomenal addition to the tourism product. Acres Lake with its Blueway, the Slievenearn centres, cafes, leisure centre and the enhanced leisure and marine amenities. The jewel in the crown must be the 3 million plus visitor experience at the boutique Shed Distillery in Drumshambo, and of course the innovative art, tourist and cultural hub W8 in Manorhamilton to the north of the county. Leitrim has often been perceived as being remote, a fact never further away from the truth. Access and connectivity to Leitrim has never been better. Carrick is now just 90 minutes from the M50. Rail and coach, both public and private, have a tremendous frequency and quality and have never been better. Knock Airport is just 40 minutes from Carrick. And of course, internationally, the UK is Ireland's and of course Leitrim's largest and closest overseas market with excellent year-round connectivity. One can now travel from Birmingham to Ballinamore, Manchester to Mohill, or Edinburgh to even Estlin Bridge, door to door in less than 3 hours. But COVID has realigned visitor emphasis, focus and desire for safe, open, rural landscape, nature, outdoor activities and slow adventure, of which Leitrim has an abundance. Leitrim Tourism has responded well to this realignment and is about to embark on the largest domestic marketing campaign in its history, reflecting this change in consumer sentiment. I call on all Leitrim people, Leitrim connected people, in and beyond Leitrim and indeed all over the world, to be our ambassadors for our county. Think Leitrim and encourage other people to do likewise. Put on your Leitrim jersey, tell your friends, your family and work colleagues of the great place Leitrim is for their next holiday. But Leitrim isn't just a wonderful place to visit, and as I well know, it is to both live and work also. Outside of tourism, there are many good reasons and indeed supports for those considering a corporate event, maybe someone considering to return, relocate or establish a business in Leitrim. And there are many compelling reasons why. Employment opportunities, including food, the creative, forestry, energy, services, manufacturing and finance, all present opportunities. We have an excellent choice of school and preschool facilities, a varied sporting and recreational scene, not least with Gaelic football and hurling, and of course a high-end arts, entertainment, retail and offerings associated. In short, an enviable, safe and clean lifestyle and quality of life second to none. So think about us and think Leitrim. Let's all work together to help Leitrim shine a little brighter, not just this summer, but beyond and into the future. Thank you for your time. Enjoy Leitrim.com.
Thanks very much, Joe. And obviously the Bush Hotel, fantastic supporters of Leitrim GAA down through the years as well. I mentioned that we have a further way of promoting Leitrim with a hamper up for grabs for some of you who are tuned in this evening. And the question that we're asking you to post the answer to into the Leitrim GAA Facebook page or on the Leitrim GAA YouTube channel. So just write the answer into either of those two platforms, and the question is, who are Leitrim's opponents in the first round of the National Football League 2020? 2021. The Leitrim footballers' opponents in the first round of the National Football League this weekend. So just post your answer into the Leitrim Facebook page or the Leitrim YouTube channel, and you'll be in with a chance to win a fabulous product of artisan foods kindly provided by the Leitrim Local Enterprise Office. And I'll run through exactly what's in that hamper a little bit later on. You can see just some of the stuff there that Breffney is sharing with you. Actually, I'll run through it here now. We've got Blake's Organic, Always Organic, Kefir and Coffee. We've got Bo Peep Preserves, we've got Ginny's Bakery, Cakes and Granola, we've got the Shed Distillery, the famous gin, and some of their new chocolate range, McNiff's Box Tea, one of my own personal favourites, the Little Milk Company, some cheese from them, and some beautiful bread from the Logan's Bakery as well. So again, pop your answers into the Leitrim Facebook page and the Leitrim GAA Facebook page and the Leitrim GAA YouTube channel to be in with a chance to win that prize, and we'll announce the winners at the end of this evening's show. And now we're going to jump right across the Atlantic Ocean now to the East Coast in New York to have a chat with two people that, if you have been part of the exodus for any of Leitrim's fantastic Connacht Championship matches against New York dating back to 2003, they'll need no introduction because you're almost guaranteed to have visited the famous J.P. Clarke's Saloon on McLean Avenue in Yonkers. And of course, the name now proudly emblazoned across the chest of the Leitrim senior football team. So good evening to you, and it's afternoon with yourselves, really, Seamus and Catriona. I hope you're doing well on the East Coast.
Doing well, Colin. So happy to see you all healthy and well after a tough year and a half, and looking forward to having a chat with you.
We're delighted to have you. I know Catriona's having a wee bit of trouble with her audio there at the moment. There's a little bit of feedback coming onto it. So we'll start with yourself first, Seamus, and I'm going to jump over to Catriona then. It's chatting to you a couple of days ago about the experience that has been for everybody involved in Clarke's for Leitrim to have New York to have joined the championship over the last number of years. You know, what it's been like for an immigrant that headed over there. Was it around 85 or that time that you first descended upon New York to be able to turn around and host so many Leitrim people to come over to what is now your hometown?
Yeah, I came over here in 1985, Colin, and of course, it was a lifelong ambition of mine to someday be self-employed, and I was lucky enough I'll cut to the chase, I was lucky enough to meet a good partner, and in 1995 started to build my own place with a fellow Leitrim man, Mike Regan. And Mike went home 10 or 12 years ago, but I suppose the foundation or the start of the sponsorship was something like you said yourself in 2003. The quality of the county board and the quality of the people that were visiting New York with the various teams, started with Michael McGowan and Declan Rowley in 2003, and right through to Brendan Guckian and Brian Breen, and of course Declan Bohan, and the quality of the people involved with Leitrim football this last 20 years. And I'm not patronising or anything, but I think Terry Hyland said it there when he was speaking, that it's just a pleasure dealing with them. And I think that was the start of our sponsorship.
Brilliant. And I know, Seamus, that first year, 2003, like you were instrumental in the organising committee over there for the huge function that took place. And I was fortunate enough to play that year and to experience that kind of hospitality up in that quite iconic ballroom, kind of a Needle-esque, something like the Seattle Needle, nearly that you hosted us in. I presume it went off. Exactly. I presume it meant an awful lot to you to be able to roll out the red carpet for all the Leitrim folk that made that trip.
Oh God, it was a phenomenal occasion. It was just the social aspect of it alone. People from Canada. We had, Kevin Morton up from Portland, Oregon. Loads of people from London. It was just like a carnival atmosphere. But I mean, Seamus Craig was my neighbour, and Seamus was the captain of the team at that time. And just I mean, I just can't explain how much it meant to us, but I think that's where, you know, I reacquainted myself with Leitrim and the love of Leitrim, and it probably led to where we are today as sponsors of the Leitrim team.
Fantastic. Catriona, I'm hoping that the mic is okay there, but yeah, that seems to be okay. There was a familiar face standing on the left-hand side of one of those photos there. Obviously, you're from a very famous footballing family back here in Leitrim as well, and you know, so many people would have known your dad so well.
Yeah. Can you hear me, Colin?
Can hear you loud and clear, Catriona, loud and clear, and great to have you joining us tonight, because Seamus spoke about one partner that was instrumental in getting Clarke's up and running, but I know that he was very fortunate in another partner that he met down the line as well, and that
yeah, absolutely.
And it was, I believe, there was another code. The Alan Gales Golf Society played an instrumental role in bringing it together.
It did. We were on. I actually was on the Alan Gales Golf Society trip to Spain, and just as a coincidence, I was a teacher, and it was the first time there was a teacher that was captain, so they had to go during the Halloween break. So that's where I went. It was a gift from the family, and it was a great gift because that's where I met Seamus. So onwards and upwards from there. But I have to say now, I just love it out here, really settled in. But just want to say congratulations to Joe. That's a fantastic video. Just looking at that promotional tour of Leitrim, it's something we use out here, because why wouldn't you want to go there? You know, it just makes me very nostalgic.
And that's exactly what we want to happen with that video. We want as many people as possible to share it on their social media, and to become, every one of us can become the Leitrim Tourism Office when we've got a video like that to share. Isn't it incredible when you see it all packaged together, just the amount of opportunities and experiences that you can have back home in Leitrim?
Yeah, we're very aware of that as well. You know, sorry, Seamus, go on.
No, I would make you homesick, actually. It was very appropriate before we came on to have that. I just, you know, I mean, absolutely. But, you know, with the COVID, I haven't got home for a couple of years now. And certainly it's a beautiful county. I think it's well recognized now as a beautiful county. And, you know, we'll always have one leg each side of the Atlantic Ocean, Colin. And we both love where we come from. And we just kind of,
well, there you are outside HQ, and I can only presume that was taken ahead of the Division 4 final recently.
Well, Colin, that flag almost got us thrown out of the Croke Park Hotel. We came home from New York full of exuberance, and we had a load of flags sent over. My brother Sean sent over flags, and we also had flags printed here, and we took the Croke Park Hotel by storm. So on the Saturday morning, as people started to arrive in the Croke Park Hotel for the big match was on Saturday afternoon, a group of us started, basically, we were like Manchester United fans. We took over a corner of the Croke Park Hotel, and we started to, somebody got a roll of sellotape someplace, and we started to put up some flags all over the corners of the hotel, but the manager came out anyway, and we got a serious warning. But,
you got the yellow card.
Yeah, we got the yellow card. It wasn't going to be tolerated.
Well, look, no more than you're looking back with some nostalgia. I'm sure you're not the only ones. Hopefully, joining us from stateside tonight for this show, and like I did want to touch a little bit about the Irish community and the Leitrim community over in New York, and I know beyond your support of all things Leitrim GAA, you know, in terms of your work there with the Ashleen Community Centre and the recent initiative, Catriona, that you were really driving on behalf of that, the Sláinte initiative, that was such a success and resonated with so many people, and actually impacted on the lives of so many. Would you mind just filling our listeners in tonight and our viewers in on what that was all about, and what it was that you did achieve and you were trying to achieve?
Sure. Well, obviously we're in the hospitality business, but since I've been here, I've been on the board of the Ashling Centre. I joined it a few years ago, and now I'm chairperson, which is sort of an Irish community centre that deals with Irish and Irish Americans. They have a great senior programme, a welfare programme, a culture programme, and a youth programme. But just when the COVID hit, I remember on March 16th, it happened very, very suddenly. Suddenly New York was in crisis, and we were given a couple of hours warning that we had to shut down our bar, and all bar restaurants shut down basically within a few hours. And as members of the Merchants Association, and Seamus has been involved in the Avenue for so long, the first thing he did was just think, well, how are we going to help our staff here? What's going to happen? So he convened a meeting on McLean Avenue within a couple of days of all the bar owners, and also thought to bring along President-elect Larry McCarthy, and also Joan Henshey, who's the president of the GAA, and myself as representative of the Ashling Centre. So I think the one thing that came from that meeting was that this was a problem that was bigger than McLean Avenue or just the bar restaurant workers. And shortly after that, I was involved with the meeting with the consulate, who called all the Irish centres together. They'd heard about the meeting, and they asked what Seamus had done and what it was about. And following from that, I approached the Emerald Isle, the New York Irish Centre, the GAA in New York, and the United Irish Counties. And between ourselves, we're 5 of the biggest organisations in New York, not for profit. And the one thing we realised, that each area, each organisation was affected, but nobody had the resources to deal with it effectively, because the problems were coming so quickly, and it's from so many angles. So we set up Sláinte, and I have to say at this point that this really was a committee. We did come up with the original concept, by virtue of our involvement in it. But we had a fantastic committee that was staffed by the Irish centres and the organisations. And just in short, we raised almost 600,000. I think $578,000 was the amount that we raised. Over 1,000 individuals were helped, over 500 checks were written. We got jobs for 20 people, and also there was an awful lot of medical referrals and support as the organisations worked together to deal with the problem. Now, the one thing I really want to say is that, I have to hand it to Terry Hyland and Martin McCartan, the county board, and the people of Leitrim, for just coming on board with this. It was unsolicited. It was a way of them being aware of the problems we were facing and how could they help. They came to us, like we did not approach them, but it's absolutely unprecedented what happened. To think that they got behind this initiative and raised over 10,000 euros for people in New York. And, again, I want to commend Terry, because Terry pulled no punches. He was not shy about asking any of his government contacts or even the other county boards to support them, because it's the first time New York had ever needed help. And I have to say that Terry and the Leitrim County Board and people did themselves proud. So
I'd say there's not a county in the country that hasn't been over fundraising in New York at some stage, Catriona. So it was great to see that relationship remains reciprocal, as it should do.
I think so, and that comes back to the whole idea of being involved in the sponsorship. It's not about the money, it's not about the winning, it's not all about that. What it is about is what's in your community and how can you make it better. And I really think that the Leitrim people, starting with Terry and Martin, the county board and the team, just really showed what it meant to stand up and support your own.
Fantastic. And look, at you've both been honoured, bestowed with the great honour of being amongst the Leitrim Persons of the Year 2021. But also, Catriona, then as well, I just want to make sure that all the listeners at home, it was a special honour for you then to represent your community over there as Grand Marshal of the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Yonkers.
Yeah, that was a huge honour, and it's only in recent years that the parade has come to McLean Avenue, but really it is the centre of the Irish community around here. And, while I was chosen, I just have to say that I was representing the Ashling Centre, because we had made a huge investment in the community by being in a position to buy the building that we've been renting for a long time. So, the one thing that I want to say is that I think being part of the Irish, being Irish at home, we can take our culture for granted, because we live it, we breathe it. But when you're in a foreign country, it's not something you can take for granted. And you really have to work to keep the tradition alive. And you look at the way immigration is now. We cannot take for granted that 10 or 15 years' time that there will be a big Irish community here. We have to work at strengthening those links, not just with the immigrants, but their children. And that's why we're so focused on the youth and on culture, as well as our welfare programme, to keep these keep these alive. So, and finally, I just want to say, I mean, I know I was the Grand Marshal and I was chosen, but like Seamus is a huge help to me in all of this, and I was representing us both. I was representing the bar. We were very proud to be able to do it. And certainly without him, he's an inspiration to anybody who knows him because of how he commits himself to his community and his home county.
Fantastic, Katrina. And Seamus, I'll go back to yourself just maybe for the last word to summarise. It was an exceptional timing for Clarke's to get involved with the senior team, considering the run that they had to end up in Croke Park for the Division 4 League finals, and just what did it mean to you when you saw the team bursting out through the Hogan stand with your name across their chests?
Well, honest to God, Colin, whether I was dreaming or what, I almost felt like I was playing myself that day. That's the truth. It was like, on the way into Croke Park and the excitement and the buzz, and I was like, I wonder will they be wearing their jersey? Can't wait to see what the jersey looked like in Croke Park. And it was like, it was brilliant. Now that's probably one of the highlights of my life, and the excitement. The second before that, with the cameras and Shannonside and Oceanside and interviews with John Connolly and all the buzz and everything like that, it was just brilliant. And I think it was my first time to see the new Croke Park as well. But for me and my family and the staff that came over with us, and for Catriona and all of us, it was just so exciting. I'll never forget even the first point going over for Leitrim, and I never shouted as much. It was just fantastic. And the fact that they didn't win didn't matter. They represented themselves so well, and it was just a lovely day. And we ended up on the goblet with the McGovern brothers and yourself that night, and all the previous sponsors. And it was just a wonderful occasion. And before we realized that, we were back in New York, and kind of had to pinch myself and like, what was that all about? But I almost felt like I was out there playing myself.
Well, good stuff. I don't think you could put it better. And I'm sure Terry is still has his eyes open for a nippy little corner forward there. If you still have
I think you're thinking you before me.
But listen, folks, I'd love to chat to you longer. We've ran over a little bit generally tonight here and here, but I think everybody will, having spoken to you tonight and having heard from you, you're more than worthy. Sorry. Go ahead, Seamus.
Just want to wish Terry and the boys the very best of luck in the league and in the championship. And hopefully none of us take life as serious anymore after the pandemic. And look at lose or draw. It's great to be out there playing sport and living life. And thanks, Colin. Thanks for having us.
Not at all. Amen to that. Seamus and Catriona, two very worthy recipients of the Leitrim Persons of the Year, of course, and obviously Peter McHugh and Andy McGovern joining them with that worthy accolade as well this year. So, folks, we'll see you soon, please God, and thanks for joining us.
Take care, Colin. Thanks.
So, folks, we're running just about 10 minutes over, and that's on me, unfortunately. I hope that you have a cup of tea there to keep you going. We're going to rush through. We will be finished by 20 past, maybe 21 minutes past. And I'm just going to move straight on to the next section now and invite Eamonn Duignan to join me. Eamonn, look, we lost perhaps the all-time great, and in fact one of the great footballers to ever grace a Gaelic football field with Packie McGarty. I was tuned in for the brilliant tribute on Ocean FM the Sunday after he died, but just maybe I know he was someone that meant an awful lot to you as a man and as a footballer, and if you wouldn't mind maybe just taking us through some of your own reflections on Packie.
Well, obviously he was from Mohill, and the family connection with the Duignans and the McGartys go back a long way. But Packie supported every financial initiative that the Leitrim County Board ran. He came into our Supporters Club's functions in Croke Park, and Packie, being Packie, always liked to come in as a normal supporter. He would nearly not come in if he was invited as a special guest, and he came in and joined with the supporters, and he loved talking to Leitrim people. As Eamonn, his son, said, at his funeral. He loved Leitrim people, and Leitrim people loved him. He also was. There's a picture of him there with Cathal Flynn, and Cathal, of course, was instrumental in the 50s with Packie, and they were two great friends. And Cathal, was the top scorer in the National Football League for 9 years in a row. So there's a great relationship, and they were fantastic. The Leitrim twins is what they were called on the football pitch.
That's right.
So Packie also supported the Get on the Team campaign there, which redeveloped Park Sean, and there's a lot of familiar mole names there on the team with Packie's name, and he lined out at number 11. And in fact, the star of that team with Packie is, of course, our goalie, Fergal McGill, who's at number 1. And of course, he really liked the initiative, Colin, of the Centre of Excellence, because he pursued excellence himself. And of course, he wanted to contribute, but he didn't want his name on the wall. But we insisted, and he put his message on the wall, and they're Packie's own words. So that's what's significant about that. They're the words Packie wanted on the Centre of Excellence. He was always proud to wear the Leitrim jersey, and he loved playing.
I think the bottom line sums it up there, Eamon, really, doesn't it? Any photo I've ever seen of Packie when he's lined out with Leitrim or a club to play, he has the biggest smile on his face, and he usually has the two arms wrapped around the shoulders of the two lads next to him. Just mad to get out there and for the love of the game.
Yeah, he just loved playing football, and had always a ball, or going back to the growing up as a child in Bohol, he had a lump of paper rolled up in a ball, and he was soloing up and down the town. So he just loved the game and loved playing.
And look, Eamon, I know we could talk about Packie all night here tonight. As I said at the introduction, you participated in a wonderful tribute that Austin O'Callaghan hosted on Ocean FM, and we're going to share the link to that tribute on the Leitrim Facebook page, Leitrim GAA Facebook page, and the Leitrim Twitter account as well after the show tonight. So if just in case anybody missed it, that they can hear your really in-depth recollections about Packie and other contributions from the likes of his teammate Michael McGowan down in Kinloch, and again Mike Feeney here as well. Some great recollections about going to the matches. But just to summarise, Eamon, just for you, what Packie meant to you in terms of the role that you have in Leitrim's GAA now.
Well, he was always someone to talk to about football. He had a forensic knowledge of football. He loved watching games, and he loved to see forwards, and he loved to see a player take on a back and beat him, and to take a score. He never said anything about his direct opponents, Colin. And when they played football back in the 50s and 60s, the game was a lot more physical than it is today. But what he always said was, he played me fair. And there was two Kerry players, Jazz Murphy and Sean Murphy. In fact, Sean Murphy marked Packie 3 times in the 1 week, and he always said about those two players, they played me fair. But I never heard Packie saying anything about a dirty player. And one final thing that he shared with me in relation to the 58 final. The one disappointment for Packie was that he told me he couldn't get on the ball in the last few minutes. And it kind of stuck with him all this time. He just couldn't get on the ball. And he was totally frustrated because he really wanted to win that medal for Leitrim. So they would be the main conversation pieces I had with him. I'll conclude, Colin, with just one story, if that's okay. I was with Packie one evening in his home, and he was going through memorial cards, which are cards that people send when a relation passes. And of course, I was familiar with a lot of people from Mohill, and we had a great chat about it. But included in those memorial cards were memorial cards from Matty McDonough, Sean Purcell, and Frank Stockwell. Now, they were three Galway players who had denied Packie the one thing he wanted, to win a Connacht Championship medal with Leitrim. So Packie, to me, He was a superstar footballer, but he was a superstar person, and he was a very unique and special man.
Thanks very much, Eamon. And I think he brought us much more than any silverware ever could have to the county.
Indeed.
And I'm going to call back now our previous contributor, Seamus. Thanks very much for that, Eamon. And we'll be calling you back on just a couple of minutes to officially launch the draw. Seamus has penned a special piece for us here tonight in tribute to Packie. So take it away, Seamus.
I call this simply Packie. Packie, you were the talk of the country, but never in cahoots with fame. Your sporting skills were godly, and we all proudly proclaim when and where, what day and date and time we witnessed your feats of splendour. And remember how every sinew moved and oozed with grace and guile. Though we wouldn't tie your laces, you filled our hearts and minds with glad distraction and made us love our place and game in equal measure. You were a Mohel man, a Leitrim man, a footballer like no other. You were our cheers, our gasps, our aftermath conversations. You inspired and cajoled and ignited fading embers. And without you, we would be less than what we are. In 58, we carried you shoulder high, and although defeat stood calmly by and watched, we still had our king. You led us like a father leads a son, gently by the hand. You were always first behind the band, and we stood back and savoured. And now that you've gone, we cherish what you've left behind, that catch, that run, that jink and turn, that man who fought the fight so long and held no bitterness. And at the end, we carry you once again and make our final fuss. Because remember, Packie McGarty, for so many generations, it was you who carried us. That's it.
Lovely stuff, Seamus. Thank you very, very much. I think that is a lovely tribute to the man, and so delighted that everybody here tonight got to hear that from the horse's mouth, and for the first time live here at the launch of the Leitrim GAA Supporters Club 2021, the draw. So I'm going to invite Eamonn Duignan back on just to officially launch the draw. As ever, as we heard from Mike and from Enda, the money raised from this year draw is absolutely crucial in supporting the activities of Leitrim GAA. And a big focus this year is going to be on that player pathway over the next number of years. And the tourist initiative that we saw thrown up. There is an incredible array of 12 prizes for the draw this year, and the main sponsor is Cox's Steakhouse. I'm going to run really quick through the prizes here. The first prize, €5,000. Second, 2,000. Third prize, 1,000 from the Westlink coaches. Fourth prize, 3 nights accommodation in the Bush Hotel for 4 people, with VIP tour of the Shed Distillery experience and lunch in the Jackalope Cafe. Fifth prize, 2 nights luxurious stay at the Lochrin Castle Estate and Gardens, with an array of additional offers there, including Leitrim Company bike trails, the Shannon Blue Cycle, and afternoon picnic box. We've got 6th prize, a €500 voucher for the Landmark Hotel. 7th, 2 night stay, including breakfast at the wonderful Titanic Hotel Belfast. And that includes 2 tickets to the Titanic Visitor Centre. And a big thanks to Clem Gaffney, an old friend of mine, for that. 8th prize, €500 voucher at the W8 in Manor Hamilton. 9th, voucher to the value of €250 to use within the tourism hospitality sector in Manor Hamilton Municipal District area. 10th prize, voucher to the value of €250 for the tourism hospitality sector in Balnamore Municipal District area. 11th prize, same thing, €250 voucher for use in the Carrick and Shannon Municipal area. There's some terms and conditions, and then the 11th prize at €250 cash. Really, really incredible stuff. Eamon, just going to ask you to kind of officially launch and give us the call to arms for everybody out there, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, I'm officially launching the Leitrim GAA Supporters Club in its 35th year, and I'm asking everyone to get a ticket through their club or online and support all Leitrim GAA teams, because we're all in this together.
Very well put, Eamon, and a nice reuse of a fairly famous slogan now. So we're in this together, folks. And there's one, while we're in it together, has been one winner of the fantastic hamper provided by the Leitrim Local Enterprise Office. And the answer, of course, Leitrim's opening match in the National Football League this year is against Sligo, and the winner is Sheila McMorrow. And I'm presuming that's Sheila from Manor Hamilton. So Sheila, that will get your details through social media, and that hamper will be on its way to you in the coming days. And we hope you enjoy that wonderful artisan food. So, folks, that's it for the night. I'm sorry we ran a little bit over the schedule, but I hope you'll feel that it was worthwhile. Some of the conversations, we could still be having them, and if we were in Croke Park right now, we'd continue the conversation over in the Croke Park Hotel. So here's to the days when we can gather again around a table and shake a hand around the pitch and roar at each other. And at our players, both club and county, wearing the green and gold and whatever your particular club colours might be. I just want to say a huge thanks to all the Supporters Club committee for pulling this evening together, but a special thanks for my technical team who've been beavering away there behind the screen. Breffney Early and Brendan Doyle, tonight could not have happened without you. So, folks, I hope you all keep safe, keep well. We're looking forward to society opening back up again. Here's to a great year for all things Leitrim GAA and, in fact, the county as a whole. And Leitrim Abu, Slán agus Bannacht, and tune into the fantastic new podcast, Leitrim GAA podcast, where you'll be kept in touch on all things Leitrim GAA over the summer months and into the autumn. So mind yourself, folks. Slán agus Bannacht.